sure, we'll do that. So I kind of looked over my shoulder and the person was gone. Boy, that's good. Glad that's over. Walked out there, pickup truck in the parking lot is ours, and we start to get in it, and there she was. And I was sure she called me Pastor. Pastor. I've always been called Pastor, Dan, so I thought she called me Pastor. And I opened up the truck door for Esther, got her in, I walked around, got in the door, didn't say anything to the person, and I told her, yeah, she called me Pastor. And Esther said, she didn't call you Pastor. I have been mocked. But sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I just thought it was hilarious that God gave me dull hearing. What she meant for a total insult, I just took it as a compliment. Ha, ha, ha. You know, there are sometimes that opposition comes your way, and you got to let it roll off your back. Like water off a duck. I don't know how ducks got the bad rap, but like water, right? You gotta let it go. I mean, to me, it was a hilarious thing. To me, it meant nothing. It absolutely, there was nothing about that affected my life at all, except tonight in this sermon that I can now circle 5A. I have been mocked. Don't you feel sorry for me? Don't. Count it all joy. Count it all joy. 5B. Never had this happen that I know of. Acts 21, 30 through 33. All the city was moved and the people ran together. They took Paul and drew him out of the temple. They pulled him out of the temple. That's not a very religious group to pull you right out of the temple. Forthwith the doors were shut. And as they went about to kill him, chief captain finds out about it. When the chief captain and his soldiers arrived in verse 32, the Bible says they left beating of Paul. The beating stopped when the chief captain showed up. Then the chief captain came near and took him and commanded him to be bound with 2 chains. Here you've just been beaten, and this guy comes to rescue you, and what does he do for you? He binds you with 2 chains. But it led eventually to Paul's deliverance from these Jews. 5C. There were 40. I don't think this ever happened to me. I hope it's not something you're planning on. 40 made a conspiracy against him. Now, can't circle that one. I might be just dull and dumb and stupid, but the ministry in my lifespan has been easy. It's been easy. I hear friends of mine, peers, pastors, all kinds of ministry people, and they've had it rough. I've had it easy, very easy. Paul did not have it easy. Certain of the Jews banded together and bound themselves under a curse, saying that they would neither eat nor drink till they had killed Paul. There's an idea for weight loss. And there were more than 40 which had made this company. Don't we often speak in these terms? God and you make a majority. No. God doesn't need you to make a majority. God alone can handle 40 conspirators. He just makes it so that Paul's nephew happens to hear about it. Paul tells him to go tell the chief captain. He tells the chief captain, and with the armies of Rome, he takes Paul out of that situation. There must be a lot of starving Jews in that town. 5D. Oh, I get to circle my second one. I have been falsely accused. I bet a few of you get to circle this too. Don't you just love it to be falsely accused? I tell people all the time, there's plenty to accuse me of that's real without making something up. We have found this man a pestilent fellow, a mover of sedition among all the Jews throughout the world, a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes, who also had gone about to profane the temple, and we took and would have judged according to our law. In every point he was falsely accused. I don't know about you, but when I'm falsely accused, it makes me angry. But Paul just goes on, keeps on going on. You know what I've heard come out of some church people? I'll never darken the door of a church again. I was mistreated. My. And you got to think about Jesus, who went all the way to the cross. What right do I have to make such a claim as to withhold myself from him? Jesus paid it all to him I owe. Falsely accused? Yeah, I've been falsely accused. But I've been rightly accused too, so it all kind of evens out. Number 6, I have been through a tempest. I really have. I've been through a tempest. My dad and I were camping out at Pomona Lake. I told you I hate camping. And we were camping at Pomona Lake in a tent, and a tornado came across that night. Really did. I was a teenager. I woke up. You know how teenagers can sleep, right? I woke up the next morning and I found my dad in the corner of the tent, standing, holding the wood structure of the tent like this. And his words were, when I woke up, "How did you sleep through that?" Dad, you must have never heard yourself snore. I've slept through it all my life. Nonetheless, the soldiers' counsel was to kill the prisoners of this shipwreck, lest any man should swim out and escape, but the centurion willing to save Paul. Thank God, God had a centurion all the way through this process of those that wanted to kill him, those that conspired against him, and now even in the shipwreck when they want to kill the prisoners, the centurion willing to save Paul kept them from their purpose. We preached it this morning. We won't wax on tonight. Paul gathered the bundle of sticks, laid them on the fire. There came a viper out of the heat and fastened on his hand. And when the barbarians saw the venomous beast hang on his hand, they said among themselves, "No doubt this man is a murderer, who though he hath escaped the sea, yet vengeance suffereth not to live." And he shook off the beast into the fire and felt no harm. I thank God I've never experienced that one. Not for the cause of Christ or otherwise. I do love the story. Was it Wendy Bagwell? I think it was. Down there in a southern church, and they were singing in that church, and they started seeing the wood boxes with holes in them being brought into the church. And he told one of the singers in his group, "Would you check out the platform behind us, and would you see where the door is?" The singer came back and said, "Brother Bagwell, there is no door." He said, "Would you ask these fine people where they'd like one?" Thank you, Lord. I've never done that. Well, you know, I preached that one time years ago in a previous pastor. And sure enough, you know, the next day when I went out mowing my backyard, those turkeys had put a bunch of rubber snakes in my backyard. Try it if you want to, it don't matter. I had a riding lawnmower. I sliced them left, I sliced them right. I sliced them up, I sliced them down. I sliced and I kept on slicing until you couldn't hardly find pieces of a rubber snake. Glory to God. They'll take up serpents. It won't harm them. Not even the rubber ones. I do remember on occasion my cousins and I were in one of those Missouri auto pits, you know, where they just put cars out in the field. And we wanted to see what's in those cars. And so I reached in there, and you know how you used to do on those old cars. Hit that lever and lifted up the hood. And all of a sudden, both my cousins yelled, "Copperhead!" Ran, man, we ran. And come to think of it, I don't know if they really saw one or not. You have to know my favorite verse. It's my very favorite. Psalm 34. I sought the Lord, and He heard me and delivered me from all my fears. Can you thank God for that one? Yes. I sought the Lord, and He heard me and delivered me from all my fears. Would you read with me? This is a summary of the life of the Apostle Paul. Are they ministers of Christ? I speak as a fool. I am more. In labors, more abundant. In stripes, above measure. In prisons, more frequent. In deaths, plural, deaths, often. Of the Jews, 5 times I received 40 stripes, save 1. That's 39. Thrice I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. Thrice I suffered shipwreck. A night and a day I have been in the deep. In journeyings often, in perils of waters, in perils of robbers, in perils by mine own countrymen, in perils by the heathen, in perils in the city, in perils in the wilderness, in perils in the sea, in perils among false brethren, in weariness and painfulness, in watchings often, in hunger and thirst, in fastings often, in cold and in nakedness. Hear this, preacher. Sometimes to preach this glorious gospel cost more than you can imagine that you can bear. It's quite a list. The perils of Paul are listed there in 2 Corinthians 11. It's quite a list. But you don't have to go far past chapter 11 and hear the words of the Lord. My grace is sufficient. You only need to turn the page, chapter 11 to chapter. My grace. I believe that's what the Lord has for you and I tonight. To know in any and every circumstance of life, in peril after peril after peril, my grace is sufficient. I'm going to point at you. My grace is sufficient for thee. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Glory to God. Glory to God. Paul gives a summary then, not only of his perils, but the condition we will leave him in at the point he is ready to die. For I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. Brother, how many are going to keep the faith? Henceforth, there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day. And not to me only, but to all of them that also love his appearing. The perils of Paul, many times thwarted by the power of God, will one day lead this time to his martyred death. And yet, with joy, we endure affliction, knowing that His grace is sufficient for me. Would you say it to the Lord right now with me? Lord, your grace is sufficient for me. I've only been through 3 of these in slight measure. But whatever it is that we're faced with, whatever we're called to endure, it's counted all joy. His grace is sufficient for us. We should come.